Welcome back, everybody. Michigan Outdoorsman here. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about electronic levels. We've got the SG Pulse, and then I've got the LRA Send It level. So to be fair, I've been using this SG Pulse for quite some time, probably, well, really since it came out. I've owned it for a few months now at the time of this recording, and I've used it on a couple matches. I've actually never used the LRA or the MDT Send It level at all in competition. So today is supposed to be kind of a versus video. I don't want to get too caught up in which one I really think is better, because that's going to come down to your gun setup and what you prefer. But just kind of here's the pros and cons between the two, what I like and the reason why I like it. But we'll start off with the SG Pulse, since it's the newest kid to the block. Most everybody knows about the MDT or LRA Send It level. But we'll start with this, go over the features and how easy it is to run and what I like about it and don't. So starting with the SG Pulse, it's from Shooters Global. They released this a few months ago. I've ran this in a couple matches, like I may have mentioned earlier. This thing has been a godsend. It's cheaper than the MDT, and it is smaller. But essentially, it comes with your charging cable, because it has a built-in battery, and this is a magnetic charging cable, which I really like. That's all you need to do to charge it. You can't put it on the other way because of the magnet's polarity, but there you go. So you just slap it on there. It's probably 3 feet long. I bought mine with 2 mounts. This is the M-LOK mount, and this is the Picatinny mount, which is how I currently run it. To turn it on, you just press and hold on the face for about 3 seconds, and there you have it. It'll start showing you your air immediately. You can go into the app, and it will show you how to adjust the sensitivity of the sensors, so you can have a little more wiggle room in your side-to-side cant of the rifle, basically. You can change in the app how bright the LEDs are. You can also set the orientation of your rifle, whether you're mounting it like this or like this. And then you can also level this out to your reticle, which I highly recommend you do in the app. You can also do it on the rifle separately from the app, which is a cool feature. I'll walk you through how to do that here in a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on. We're going to calibrate this. Turn it on, and I've already played with this calibration settings a little bit, so now the rifle's actually pretty close to level, but it doesn't think it is. So we're just going to pretend like the rifle's perfectly level. What I would typically do is hang a plumb bob 20 yards away or whatever, wherever your reticle can focus down to so you can see it clearly. Hang a line with the plumb bob at the end to get some weight on the end of a string or shoelace. Use it as your plumb bob. Level your reticle to that perfectly. And then on a bench like this with a nice bipod that you can keep your rifle stable, you just press and hold. Press once and hold until you get those purple lights. If the rifle is perfectly still, it will calibrate very quickly. And then from there, we've got our left and right level calibrated, okay? So blue means you're too far to the right, green means perfect, red means you're too far to the left, just like the MDT. So if you're coming from one to the other, this is going to be perfect for you. You can also enter a mode where it measures your stability. I think if you just press it once, okay, you press and hold for half a second. It will measure your rifle's stability. And then it'll actually go out of level mode, so this won't even matter anymore. See how the light goes top and bottom? It's not measuring stability anymore, or I'm sorry, levelness. It's not measuring the cant of the rifle. It's checking for how stable you are. So if you're looking to make those stable shots, it will wait for the rifle to settle down. And once all the twang's gone out of the gun, it will show green. So if you're looking to make that perfect shot, you can use this to do that. I don't really care about that, but I have entered that mode several times on accident while trying to shoot. It's not a big deal. Let me see if we can get out of it. I shouldn't have shut it off. Let me just try that again, because this is learning for both you and I here. So short press for like 3 seconds, or for about half a second, I'm sorry. Let's see if we short press again. Yep, we enter right back out of it again. Now we're back into our level mode, okay? So that's how you zero this out to your reticle, so to speak, on levelness. So one thing I'd like to mention with the SG Pulse is you can mount this a couple different ways. You've got it the way I had it before, or you can mount it like this, which then can go on top. And if you want to put that diving board in front of your turret, you can do it that way. You can mount it on the side. You can do it kind of however you want. One thing to note is how thick that is, the clearance you have, how wide this is as well versus the MDT. When we line these up edge to edge on the back side, that's how much more space the SG Pulse takes. And then also I don't have that little groove notched out, which really helps get underneath that scope. I'll show you guys more about that later. You've got the M-Lock mount, which we will go and show you guys now. All right, so now I've got the SG Pulse mounted in the M-Lock slot here. There's no slot this way, in and out, that way. But you can move this up and down, and it's just not the most solid. It probably would be just fine. I just don't like it. It doesn't feel right. So picking up your rifle, you're whacking it. Now obviously if you had a better chassis than what I have, a lot of them will have slots right along here. Maybe it'd be out of the way. It might work just fine, but that's always an option right there. It does keep things out of the way, and it keeps your other accessories, if you have them around this area, still in use, because when I bought this, I had to figure out where I wanted to keep my timer, because originally my timer was there, and I was just running a bubble level mounted here. So, some things came up. I didn't want to mount my thing in front of my turret, so I couldn't see what number I was at when dialing. So just keep that in mind. Form factor and how it mounts is a big thing. MDT's got a lot of options for mounting. SG is working on some stuff as well. Now let's talk one thing about this SG that some people may or may not be talking about, and that is battery life. I've only charged this once since I've owned it in a few months, and I shoot with it all the time. But I've only charged it one time, and it took 30 minutes to fully charge it from when I got it out of the box because it's already mostly charged. It will flash a nice steady green while charging. But I have not charged it since, and I always take the charging cable with me just in case because I feel like it's going to drop out on me. But it has not let me down once. I will say that I think it has an auto off. I cannot confirm this anywhere in the manual, but I have had this thing shut off on me twice, I believe due to inactivity. After about 30 minutes, it'll just shut off. So I think it's got an auto timer on it. If you're shooting, I have not noticed it ever do that, but when it's just sitting around, light on, it just turned itself off. So I think it's got a battery saving mode in there that they don't really talk about. So that's just what I think. I could be way off. Maybe a glitch happened, but that's what it has done twice. So, all right, so moving on to the MDT send it level. You turn this little knob on. You can see those lights light up. You can turn up how bright they are right here on this dial. So that's kind of nice. Right there on the fly, you can change how bright it is. And you can change the sensitivity of it as well by doing a couple different functions with this knob, which is explained in the owner's manual. I won't go into that because you can find videos on that pretty easily. And I like where it's at, I'm just going to leave it. It's not as easy to change, I would say, as the SG Pulse. I'm not going to probably go into as many features and details on this over as I did with this one because you guys already have seen this, I'm assuming. This has been out for years. So this isn't really anything new to the game, but this is kind of the gold standard. It's really the only one until this guy showed up that I've seen. So right now I have the 90-degree mount on this. It does not come this way. When you buy this LRA or MDT send it level, you will get their straight mount is what I'm going to call it. All it is the way it bolts up, mounts to the light. It comes like this. So when you hook it to your rifle, you'll have it sitting straight out across your rifle, which gets in the way of everything. It sticks out a good half-inch past my turret or something, okay? I think counting the knob, maybe a little bit more. So it's actually quite obnoxious. So I bought the 90-degree mount, which was like another 50 bucks. This thing's already 200 and something dollars. It's quite a bit of money. It's 260 or more, okay? And just so I can keep it within my turrets when I mount it. So this here, MDT's had a lot of time to refine this. This is definitely a nice touch. I'm not knocking this in any way. I'm not saying one's better than the other. This level is kind of the gold standard, like I said earlier, okay? Changed how bright that really is. So one thing I want you guys to pay attention to when I turn this thing on, I'm going to turn it on full brightness. What it's going to do is it's going to do a battery check right there. Those, how all the lights lit up in a sequential pattern. Full bars means full strength. You know, you start dropping a bar, your battery's starting to slowly deplete. So you can see what your battery level is as soon as you turn this thing on. Now, the number one thing that this has going for it, way over this, is the multi positions of lights, the multiple steps in the lighting process, I guess. I'm butchering it really bad, but you got 2 for red, 1 for green, 2 for blue. You know if you're too red that you're heavy on the red side. You start coming up slowly towards center. Now you got 1 red, means you're really close to green. Then you got green. Then you got 1 blue. Then you got 2 blue. So you know which way you need to go. And then when this thing is stuck actually horizontal instead of 90 degrees, it's even easier. It'd actually be like this. It's actually easier because then you know which way you got to go just by looking at it, because those lights are sequential and they go in the direction that you need to go. Okay, I mean, it just follows that rifle perfectly. This here doesn't have that option. You have a solid light that you just have to know that blue means go to the left and red means go to the right. Not a big deal. And one thing I wish they would have done is you had a light here and a light there, that they would have, you know, changed that to where 1 comes on if you're too heavy and both come on if you're too far, or yeah, both come on if you're too heavy. And then if you mounted it this way, you know, you have 1 light and you start moving over, you have 2. So it doesn't work that way. You just have to know. But if you've been shooting this for a long time, you're not going to be at all unused to this light. I don't think at all. Now I did start with this light. This light here I think is brighter because you have two lights at all the time, always going for you. I mean, just look at the way the camera picks it up versus this. I do think that the SG Pulse is a little bit brighter. Not by much, and it's not enough to say that it's like hands down brighter, the best, but I think it is slightly brighter because of the more LEDs. It's basically a fuller, bigger picture of LEDs. Form factor, mounted in the 90-degree angle. I mean, this is the space you are saving. It's thinner and it's shorter. I mean, right off the bat, that's your height differences getting mounted, okay? You stick it out level. This is also going to come out a little bit thinner. Not by much, but just a little bit. So, I mean, if you're looking for saving space, probably the SG Pulse, but if you're looking for the most intuitive, easy, slap it on your 9-year-old kid's rifle, this is probably it. If you're looking to save money, SG Pulse. Now, we haven't gone over all the features of the MDT, which I said I wouldn't, but probably one of the bigger things here is I run a really slow scope mount, so I have to run this little thumb wheel all the way out just to get my level mounted. But I can stick this on and screw it on and have plenty of clearance underneath the bell, underneath the scope tube because of this notch here, whereas I cannot do that with this mount. While it is really low profile and it is thin, my scope sits low enough that I just can't quite get that extra chunk in there, okay? If they had designed this a little better, it would have worked just fine, but I can't fit it in there. That's just particularly my scope mount. It's not gonna, it probably won't even matter on your gun, but it's only the way my rifle scope's mounted. I can fix that. I can actually make it still work because what it is my scope is sitting so far forward that my zoom dial is so close to the beginning of my pick rail that I can't fit this in there behind it. It gets bound right there. Then this right here just rides on it and starts chewing it up. So this right here being thinner, not as wide I guess, I shouldn't say thinner, but I guess in a way it kind of is too, but it's not as wide, gives you the advantage because this can fit in this little bit of space here, whereas this one here can't. It does not fit between there. So MDT has it in the space-saving department in the area of mounting. Plus, if you run a spur or I think it's area 4192, they have special mounts that come right off of this directly to your rings, so you don't need to mount it on the rifle rail or on the diving board like I do. So MDT has more options, I will say that. I'm going to turn this off, turn this one off. They're both waterproof. The cool thing with the MDT is you pull this shroud off, it just pulls straight off. You got a little rubber O-ring there to keep it waterproof. Right there's your battery, it has a little tag on it. You can pull that battery right out, and that's how you would change that battery. Pretty simple. I haven't changed this battery yet. I've owned it for also a month or two, but I have not been running this on really anything other than just practicing with it because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with it or not. But solid aluminum construction, very well built. Very well built. This is very well built. None of these are really slouches or cheap. But more options for the MDT, and definitely easier to use if you're not used to running electronic level. Like I said before, I had no experience running with one, and I picked this up instantly. I knew that blue meant go to the left, and red means go to the right. And if you practice with it, you won't even think about it. You just know green is what you want, and your body will almost tilt that rifle for you, and you don't even have to think about it. Trust me. Buy this in the off season and practice with it, or this, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of my 2 cents on these. I would say that they have some improving to do on this as far as making it maybe a little more easier. Battery life is spectacular. I want to say you could probably get 50 hours out of this battery. I have no idea. But I have been running this for an hour or two a day for a week, for a couple of weeks, and I'm at 88%. So I've probably got 10, 20 hours on this thing, okay? So that's how well the battery's lasted. This here probably has an hour on it, but it's still fully charged, according to that small battery. Now these batteries you buy for the MDT, they are expensive, they're hard to get. You can't go get them at Myers or Walmart that I've seen, at least not by me. Get them on Amazon or somewhere else, and they are costly, so just keep that in mind. This is a cheap Chinese aftermarket brand too. So keep that in mind. Now I know that was a lot about these levels. I guess at the end of the day, I choose the SG Pulse because it is the form factor that I want. When I pick up my rifle off of a prop, it's not sticking way out, it's not sticking really high up. So the space savings that I like is where this thing kind of fits in. And putting it in the rifle case, it doesn't stick out weird and get caught on foam. Really, this wouldn't be a problem either. If you cut out your foam correctly, it's not a big deal. I prefer this. I like the fact it's got a built-in battery. The battery lasts for a long time. The magnetic charging I really like because you just slap that on. You're not trying to keep a dust out of that port because there's a hole in it or something. You don't have to open this up to do anything with it. It's simple, it's easy. You can recalibrate it really easy. You can recalibrate this easy too. It's a matter of just turning this dial a sequence. And you can calibrate that too and change the sensitivity. But it's not, in my opinion, as easy as this. Especially when you have the app, that's what you want, you know what I mean? So, and this is cheaper. So, those are kind of my thoughts on it. I lean towards the SG Pulse for what it is, but I will be running this on another rifle, so both will get used heavily, especially come woodchuck season. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. If you're really not sure, just buy them both and you'll choose which one you want. Maybe you can send it back or sell it to a buddy. I will say this pick or M-lock mount definitely needs some work. It's a little sloppy, but they did what they could using only one slot, so I get why it's not as tight because they don't use two slots to really have the strength to pull that into the slot like they could. So maybe their engineering team can change that if they hear enough feedback from you guys, but really I'm not going to run it like that anyways, and I don't think a lot of people will unless they have a special mount closer up out of the way of their handguard so you're not burying it in your bag when you're building a position. So that's my thought. Let me know what you guys think of this levels. Let me know what you guys think of these levels because I think they are pretty cool. We've came a long ways in technology, and I still think having a Spirit level as a backup mounted on your rifle is a good option. So keep that in mind, especially if you have to shoot a left-handed stage. This really doesn't even matter at the end of the day. So I guess with all that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching my videos. Let me know in the description what you guys would choose because this is pretty new and I know there's not a lot of people reviewing it. As a PRS shooter, I prefer it. If you shoot another discipline, maybe you don't like it. It may not even matter. Let me know what you guys think in the description. The price is right with this. MDT needs some competition. They are way too expensive on this stuff, okay? I love their equipment, but they are way too expensive. I've been pretty busy here shooting some PRS matches, and basically we're done for the season at this point, so now I'll be getting back into making some more content. But I finished 14th in my region, and I finished in the top 10% of shooters in the nation. So that's kind of my first year PRS stats. I've never done it before. It was pretty fun. I learned a lot. And it's definitely a money pit, but it's a fun one. So, and it's safer than doing drugs. So if you guys look to see anything else, let me know. I have more videos coming. Please stay tuned.